Hey everybody, welcome to Monday Marriage Moment. I'm Jason, this is my wife Renee. We want to first say thank you for taking the time to watch these videos, to invest a little bit of time in your marriage. We are honored that you would spend this time with us because we're not marriage experts, we're not marriage counselors. We do love marriage and what God has planned for marriage. We believe Ephesians 5 when it says we are to honor marriage. So that's really what these videos are all about. And having said that, it would be super, super cool if you could like these videos. If you're not subscribed to our channel, if you would subscribe. And then a very helpful thing would be to share. And those things help us with a lot of things as far as analytics and just getting these videos out there to help other people. So if you could take the time to do that, we would really appreciate it. We have been talking over the last couple of weeks about this book, which is called Your Time-Starved Marriage. And boy, are we all time-starved. We are swamped with busyness and our schedules are packed and there's so many things in our life, and if we're not careful, our marriage suffers. So we're trying to learn how to make sure your marriage flourishes in a culture of busyness, right? So we're going to talk about time and how it's spent and what it looks like, and probably you and your spouse are different when it comes to the way you use or relate to time. So you want to jump in and just tell us where we're going to start?
Sure. So this next chapter that we read, obviously this is really resonating and very relevant to people because we got a lot of comments and emails.
Had a lot of comments on that last one.
Yeah. So, and this is one of the only books that really is about spending our time. What are we busy doing? Written by Doctors Les and Leslie Parrott. And so this one is going to talk about 4 different time styles that we have. I love reading about stuff like this, just understanding what makes us tick and why we do what we do, right. What kind of type of personality we have. So it's kind of the same thing here, kind of like you usually marry the opposite of you.
Mm-hmm. Like a spender will marry a saver.
Right, so in time, you usually have one of us is an early riser and one of us is a night owl. That's almost always the way it is in a marriage.
Probably.
And so this is going to give all the information about these time styles. They are all going to fall underneath a couple of different things about time. And
okay,
one of them...
So 4 time styles, mm-hmm. but they're all going to kind of be filtered through these 2 big thoughts.
Right. And the first one is that you're either unscheduled or you're a scheduled person.
Okay, so like a scheduled person, you probably have on your phone, your calendar, your daily to-do list, your appointments for that day. They're actually in ink or in a font, planned somewhere on a schedule.
Yeah. If you're unscheduled, you're the kind of person that's like, I'm going to do this. I'll be there at 3, around 3. Mm-hmm. You're not so caught up in the actual time of something exactly. And so
that's the first big filter.
That's the first.
The second filter is?
The second one is you're either present orientation or future. So present is you're very in the moment, in the here and now. You may not plan ahead so much. That might not be that important to you. If you're future orientation, then you really plan ahead, and it's a little bit harder for you to be in the moment because you're doing so much planning and so much thinking ahead and dreaming about the future.
I think like when you go on a vacation, you can tell really quick what you are there, because some people will go on vacation and every day is planned and every event is planned and you know what you're going to do on Tuesday at 4 o'clock on your vacation. Or there's other people, this is kind of what we do, is we just wake up and go, what are we going to do today on our vacation? So it's not that one is better than the other.
Yeah, right.
It's just that we're all wired differently.
Yeah, it's just the way we are,
mm-hmm.
the way our mind works.
So in those 2 filters, scheduled and unscheduled, present and future, underneath those or filtered through those are these 4 time styles, and you're going to find yourself and your spouse operating on one of these styles.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that with these 4 time styles, it kind of changes over time. It may change with the season you're in your life. It's not that you stick in one part and you never change from that or waver from that. You might kind of go in and out from 1 or 2 or all 4. So I think it's important to remember that.
Okay.
So the first one we want to talk about, we're just going to go through all 4 and we're going to say...
That's the end.
Yeah.
Okay. Improviser is number 1.
Improviser.
I like this one.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
So an improviser is an unscheduled person, and in the present.
Mm-hmm.
So they really don't need a set plan. They can kind of go with the flow of things. They live in the moment.
Right.
And so each one of these 4 things, we're going to give their strengths, their drawbacks, kind of like their weakness, and then the challenge that they have. And maybe if they get really stressed, this is what you're going to see with them. And I think
Okay.
it's so important to understand
Sure.
this part. And so the strengths of somebody that's an improviser is they're easygoing and they're fully present.
Yeah.
And I think those are great strengths.
Fantastic qualities.
And then their drawbacks or their weakness is they might be a little disorganized and, what does that one say?
Complacent.
Complacent.
Just
Yeah.
happy-go-lucky and might get stuck in a rut.
Yeah. So the challenge for an improviser is they need to be able to set better boundaries sometimes because they're so easygoing.
Mm-hmm.
They may have trouble setting boundaries, and that can be an issue, especially in a marriage with relationships. When they get under stress, you're going to see that they're disorganized and they have trouble following through with stuff.
Yep.
So that would be really good to just know that you're like that or that your partner
Right.
has that issue.
Okay, so that's improviser. The
improviser.
second style is
Dreamer.
the dreamer.
So obviously the dreamer is also unscheduled, but is very future oriented.
Okay.
So they love what is about to happen, and they easily have a vision for that. And sometimes I'm sure that can be a little bit idealistic,
Right.
not realistic. So that might be a challenge. But the strengths for a dreamer are they are spontaneous and they are visionary. If you had 2 dreamers together, I think that would be really difficult. You would figure it out, but that would be hard. Their weakness or their drawback is I can't read all these things that I
Immobilized
wrote.
and unreasonable.
Yes. So yeah, that would be
What does
difficult.
it mean to be immobilized? Why is a dreamer immobilized?
Does that mean that they're not flexible? They're not able to?
Yeah, I think they're so focused on what's coming next that they can't make a course adjustment now.
Yeah.
Just stay the course, stay
Yeah.
on track.
Okay. And their challenge is that they need to be more realistic.
Hmm.
So they just always have that vision, and that would be really hard to be realistic if you had that time style. So we have
Improviser,
improviser,
dreamer.
The next one I think is the one that I am, and that is a planner. So planner is very obviously scheduled, a scheduled person, and is future oriented. So it's all about the schedule, all about the plan. I'm sure if your partner is that way, it might drive you crazy if you're not that way. But I think it does help to have somebody like that, to have a plan. Probably every teacher is.
That's probably
a
true. That's
planner.
probably written into the DNA of a teacher.
Yeah. And so, I can already tell for me, one of my weaknesses is it's hard for me to be in the moment and just easygoing,
Right.
no plan. So it's a challenge for me. They have a vision of what could be, so they're kind of similar to a dreamer in that way. They are always prepared. They plan their work and they work their plan. Very goal oriented.
Mhm.
So their strengths are they are efficient and they are prepared. Their drawbacks or weaknesses is they can be impatient and insensitive.
Mhm.
And the challenge that they have is being fully present,
Being
which
in
I
the
can
moment.
say is very true. And then when they're under stress, they become very impatient and don't have any sensitivity to
Yep.
things. So I think planner and this next one are very similar. So we have the improviser, the dreamer, the planner, and this last one is a manager.
Manager.
So they are present oriented. They methodically structure their time. So I think this is almost a step more in the planning,
A little more rigid.
a little more rigid. They generally finish whatever they start. Their strengths are that they are punctual. They keep even pace, and they're very disciplined. Their weakness is sometimes they're a little bit compulsive, and legalistic. That would be good to know about yourself if that's an issue that you have or that your partner has. And then their challenge is just going with the flow, which I think is also true for the planner. So these two are kind of similar. I think I move in and out between these two. And just to push the point, we don't all fit into just one.
Right.
We might, go back and forth. We might change over the course of our life.
Yep.
And in a season of life that changes. But most of us fall into one or two of these.
I find that as I'm beginning to understand this, that I'm a planner manager when it comes to things at work. Because if I'm not, then I get killed by emergency stuff. If I don't have, like for instance, I have our message series planned out all the way through January, and if I didn't prepare one more minute, I could teach all the way through the summer and even into the new year, because I have to methodically, militantly plan that and schedule that, because in ministry there's so many things that come up at the spur of the moment, and if you wait to be prepared for everything you really need to do, you can't give those emergency moments, those crisis moments, enough attention as they deserve, and you don't give your teaching time enough attention that it deserves. So I find myself being a planner manager at work, but I think around here and with you, I find myself being more of an improviser, dreamer. Just go with the flow, whatever.
Yeah, I see that. And I'm sure that's true for a lot of people.
Probably.
Depending on your what your job is.
Mm-hmm.
You may have to be a certain way in your job, but then when you're at home, you're relaxed in your marriage, you take on this other role. And maybe it's something that we do to complement
Probably.
each other. If you know I'm going to plan, then you really don't have to worry about
Right.
it,
It's true.
which is kind of nice. So this is such a good book now that we've kind of gotten into this,
Yeah.
and we see that a lot of people struggle with this,
Right.
and maybe they don't even realize that this is actually what they're struggling with, the use of their time,
Right.
and how important it is.
Just understanding how your spouse is wired can help you kind of take the degree of frustration out a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to hear what everybody is.
Yes.
You could start us a conversation in the comments just by saying, I'm Bob and I'm a planner. It would just be interesting to know what you are and how you identify yourself and what your spouse is. So please comment on that. We'd love to see those comments. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We will be back next week with more on how to make sure your marriage survives your time-starved schedule. See you later.
Bye.